It doesn't take a Nobel laureate. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. It takes regular people. This guy came from dirt poor beginnings, and he never let that determine his concept of freedom and justice. And one thing about him, he sat next to the right for the Klan to march. He fought for that, just like he fought for, he believed in that everybody should have the right. And so I think it was just to not let this tremendous, amazing story of this man, not to mention my mother, Juanita Williams, whose story, wouldn't have been a Hosea Williams without a Juanita Williams. I can tell you that. That's the truth. Nobody really knew him. And even in the little bit that we saw tonight, you can tell how much you didn't know about him. Just like people don't even know Jose Feed the Hungry is open every day. They don't know so much about what is going on that it had to be done.
Dr. Billingsley, let me ask you next, the importance of telling Jose's story.
Well, I think that everybody here has touched on the impact, especially in terms of legislation, in terms of moving the Black freedom struggle ahead. But the thing that I've come to recognize and appreciate about Jose, especially as I've grown older, was his absolute commitment to youth development. All of us were very, very young when we came to the movement. And Jose had an extraordinary ability to understand, to first perceive and intuit leadership ability in young people. And then he was willing to and able to develop it. And I know I was not a believer. When I first started working with Jose, he had to convince me. And he did. He told me one day, you can put out 500 leaflets in an hour down in 5 points. I said, can't be done, Jose. He got me up at 5 o'clock in the morning, took me to 5 points, and showed me how to get out 500 leaflets. He never asked young people to do anything that he was not able and willing to do himself. And so I think that's another part of his complexity. We see the civil rights icon, but here was a man who really understood what it meant and the importance of developing youth leadership.
Do I have to use this instead? Okay, so be thinking about what you may want to ask one of the panelists, because we're going to do that in a few minutes. And Ms. Williams, you were nodding your head in agreement with some of the things Dr. Billingsley was saying about youth development. Talk about some of your experiences with Reverend Williams.
Okay, let me just say, first of all, good evening to everyone. And Melissa and Javita, the movie was excellent, excellent.
Thank you.
But there's still so much more about Jose. And when I think about him, I think about the Poor People's Campaign. I think about Resurrection City, and all of that. He was concerned about the least of these. When we went to Resurrection City, we were there. We were determined that we were going to wipe out hunger and all. So there's a whole lot more that we could say about Jose. But hopefully, sometime later, you will get a chance to hear a lot more about him.
Dr. Emerson, you are working on putting together the papers and the story. That is sort of a project that you've taken on. Would you kind of fill us in on that?
I had this concept, Hosea Williams, his story, history, our story. And my goal was to tell the Hosea Williams story because I felt that his story was one that was instructive to young people, that your circumstances do not determine your destiny. And I thought that's a very significant point that young people need to understand today, that you can do what it is that you set your mind to if you're willing to